Hey guys, if you're new here, my name is Enrique. I'm a mortgage loan officer, and in today's video, I thought it'd be interesting to go over some of the answers to the common questions that I get about being a loan officer. So in this video, we'll be going over the salary, the hours, the differences between being a real estate agent and a loan officer, the cost to getting your license, my background and experience, what I was doing before this, whether or not you should start off as an assistant, and then lastly, the exit opportunities. But first, let's go over a quick overview of what a loan officer does. So a mortgage loan officer is someone that helps families or investors purchase residential real estate, and they do that by helping them obtain a loan for that real estate. Let's say you're going to go buy a home that's priced at $1 million and you only have $500,000. In that case, you're going to need a loan of $500,000. So you would go to a loan officer, they would ask for certain documentation, for example, W-2s, pay stubs, tax returns. So they'll gather all that documentation and then they'll tell you how much you qualify for, at what interest rate, at what down payment, what programs, etc. All right, so now on to the good stuff, the salary. So what does a loan officer's salary look like? Well, this is going to depend on where you work at. So you can work at a bank like Chase, Wells Fargo, maybe a credit union, where you'll have your salary and then a commission amount. Now, I haven't worked at one of those banks, so I can't tell you what the commission amount is. I just know that it's a very, very small commission amount because you are getting your salary, right? You're showing up and you're getting paid just to show up. Whether or not you close, you're still going to have that salary. Now, I did do some research, and the average salary seems to be around $50,000 to $70,000 for these loan officers, which is not bad. Now, the next option, which is the one that I currently work at, is something called a direct lender. A direct lender is a financial institution that approves and finances mortgage loans. And the benefit to this, or at least the difference between this one and working at a bank like Chase or Wells Fargo, is that these for the most part are only going to be commission based. You might be able to find a salaried position, but for the most part, these are going to be commission based. Now, the great thing about this is that it's going to be larger commission percentages than something at Wells Fargo or Chase. And the average is going to be anywhere between 0.5% to 2% of the loan amount. So let's say you're helping a client and the loan is $1 million. You're going to get 0.5% to 2%. Now, the national average is anywhere between 1 to 1.5%. So you'll be getting about $10,000 to $20,000 off that transaction. Now, another benefit to working with a direct lender is you are going to get a lot more resources and tools for your business. Things like marketing materials, list reports, total expert, training for new loan officers, marketing, etc. So those are some things that you'll get with a direct lender. Now, the next option, the mortgage broker, is someone that works and brings loans to banks. So they kind of act as a middleman, and they are able to get lower interest rates. So that's one of the benefits about being a mortgage broker, is that you are going to be able to get lower interest rates and offer more programs than a direct lender. A direct lender is going to be limited to the programs that they offer, and they're also not going to have as competitive interest rates as a mortgage broker. Now, when it comes to commission for a mortgage broker, they are typically a bit higher than direct lenders just because of margins. So you may be getting paid more as a mortgage broker. And again, that's because the direct lender is offering you tools, resources, and that kind of goes into the margins. All right, so now let's talk about the hours associated with being a loan officer. So back to that first option of working with a bank like Wells Fargo, Chase, Bank of America. If you work at one of those banks, for the most part, you're going to be a 9 to 5 loan officer because you are getting that salary. You're going to show up, do your thing, leave, that's it. Now, the other two options that we talked about, being a mortgage broker or working at a direct lender, your hours are going to be up to 24/7. And the reason I say that is because you're going to be getting calls from clients on weekends or maybe from referral partners. Hey, Enrique, I have this client. Please approve them. It's a Saturday night and they want to submit an offer tomorrow morning. So it can really be a 24/7 job. Now, again, it's up to you whether or not to take that call. You don't have to take that call from that realtor or do the application, but if you don't get business. And here you aren't getting a salary. At least most of you guys are not going to be getting a salary. So you're going to have to take those calls. You're going to have to put in those extra hours if you're working as a broker or a direct lender. Another thing about this is that when you're new, you're going to be spending most of your time prospecting and learning the process. So your first deal may be super simple, super basic, but because you're brand new, you're not going to know what you're doing. And it's going to take you maybe all night, maybe a couple of weeks just to package and structure that loan because you don't know a lot. And there's a lot to learn in this business of being a loan officer. For example, this right here is one of the loan programs. It's a VA loan program, and it's one of the smaller set of guidelines. So there's about 200 pages here, and you need to know these. Not entirely, not verbatim, but you need to know the important ones, and you need to know most of them. And this is just a small one. If I bring out FHA, it's going to be about that big. And if I bring out conventional, it's going to be about that big. And those are just 3 programs. There's hundreds of loan programs out there, or at least more than 20, 30, 40, etc. So there's a lot of programs, and you need to know those, at least the general requirements. All right, now let's talk about the differences between being a loan officer and a real estate agent. This is another common question that I get. Hey, I want to be a loan officer, or hey, I want to be a real estate agent. I don't know. Should I do both? Well, first, let's start by going over the 2 differences of the positions, right? Because you're doing 2 different things as a loan officer and as a real estate agent. So as a loan officer, we kind of already went over what you do, right? You help a client get a loan for a piece of property, 1 to 4 units usually. Now, another thing about being a loan officer is that you're mostly behind a desk. You're mostly behind your computer, completing applications, talking to the underwriter, talking to the processor, talking to clients, answering questions, looking up guidelines. Like I just went over, there's a big stack of guidelines, loan requirements that you need to know. So you're going to be spending a lot of time doing that. Just those 2 things, or those 3 things, right? Behind a computer, going over guidelines, answering questions, and staying in communication with your clients, the realtors, and the underwriters. That's mostly what your day is going to look like. Now, a real estate agent, what they do is they help the client negotiate the property. If they're a buyer's agent, they're going to help them get the best deal on the purchase, also make sure they're making the right decision, and they get the home that they want, right? Submitting offers. Now, they're a selling agent. They're going to help the seller get the most money for their home and also get the best buyer. That way, the deal doesn't fall out of escrow. So basically, as a real estate agent, you're mostly going to be out on the road. You're going to be driving. You're going to be out in the field. You're going to be showing properties. You're also going to be doing a lot of selling direct to consumer, right? You're going to be going out there getting those leads. Whereas a loan officer, you'll mostly be prospecting to real estate agents. That's going to be your greatest source of leads, real estate agents. So if you're someone that's great on working with partnerships, creating great relationships and maintaining those relationships, loan officer is going to be great, because you do need to maintain and have those relationships with realtors if you want to succeed as a loan officer. As a real estate agent, you're mostly going out there direct to consumer. Not that you can't do that as a loan officer, but it's much more efficient as a loan officer to connect with realtors instead of going direct to consumer. Another thing about being a real estate agent is your commission amount is going to be based on the purchase price. Now, this is very, very important, because if a home's listed at $2 million, your commission amount is going to be based on those $2 million. As a loan officer, if the home is priced at $2 million and you're helping the client get a loan of $500,000, you're only going to get paid commission amount based on those $500,000. Now, the great thing about being a loan officer is you're going to work on volume. You're going to work with a lot of deals, so maybe you'll have 5, 6 escrows at a time. Whereas a real estate agent, they'll usually only have about 1 to 2 escrows at a time. Doesn't mean you can't have more, but on average, the loan officer does about 5 to 6, and the real estate agent does about 1 to 3. So that's why those commission amounts can be different. Now, should you do both? I personally don't think so, just because if you do both, it's kind of a conflict of interest with your clients. If you're going to represent them as a real estate agent and you're like, hey, by the way, I'm also a loan officer, let me do your loan, they're going to feel bad, because what if they find another loan officer with a lower interest rate and yours is a higher interest rate? But they're going to feel obligated because you're their real estate agent. That's why I wouldn't recommend it. Another reason is if you're out there doing real estate transactions and being a loan officer, real estate agents are not going to want to send you leads as a loan officer because you also do real estate. So I would just choose one, or really just look at, hey, what do I want to do? Do I want to be behind a desk connecting with realtors, or do I want to be out there on the road shopping for homes and going direct to consumer? All right, now let's talk about cost for licensing. Now, the great thing about this industry and this career is that the cost for licensing is very, very minimal compared to other industries like being a doctor, being a lawyer, where you have to put hundreds of thousands of dollars towards your education. So the cost of getting your license is going to be anywhere between $600 to $700, depending where you get your pre-licensing education and what the current application fees are for the NMLS. So when I got my license, the NMLS fees were about $300, including all the fees around there. They may have increased to $350, but still that's not bad compared to other careers like being a doctor. Now, the second part is going to be your pre-licensing education. And this is something that you could do online or you can do in person. I did mine's online because it was during COVID, and it's just a lot easier. You log in, you do the courses, and you're all set. And these range anywhere between $500 to $700 depending if they're online or if they're in person. Now I have partnered up with OnCourse, previously known as Learn Mortgage. They're one of the top loan officer pre-licensing education platforms online, and they're offering the Enrique and Greatness family 20% off the pre-licensing education and a tool called Prep Excel, which will help you guys prepare and pass the exam. So they're offering 20% off. I have the link down below. They do a phenomenal job. They helped me get my license. So I highly encourage you guys to take advantage of that offer. So in summary, those two things will comprise the cost for licensing, which is great because if you're someone that doesn't have a whole lot of money to go back to college and you want to get into a career where you want to make hundreds of thousands of dollars or millions of dollars, this is the career for you, right? If you like what I talked about earlier about what a loan officer does and you don't have a whole lot of money to go back to school, this is great because we're talking about $600, $700 to become a loan officer and make millions of dollars, as opposed to going back to college and spending $100,000, which maybe you don't have, or you have to go into debt. Now, last thing about the pre-licensing education is that it's very quick. It's going to take anywhere between 7 to 20 days to complete that, as opposed to, again, college, where you're going to be going 4 years. All right, now let's talk about my background and experience. This is another question I get often. Hey, what did you do before this? What education do I need? Before this, I did go to a 4-year university. I went to UC Santa Barbara. I have a picture of me right there. So I went to UCSB. Now, I didn't major in anything financial. I was working on my economics major, but I quickly got kicked out because I didn't have the GPA requirements, which broke my heart. And I went into sociology. So sociology has nothing to do with being a loan officer. So if you guys are thinking, hey, I went to school for this, or hey, I didn't go to school, can I still be a loan officer? The answer is yes. There's plenty of resources out there, by the way, where you can learn about these things, which is something that I did, right? You can go on the Wall Street Journal, you can simply Google stuff, you can get a dictionary out and just look up the words. Hey, what does the word bank mean? What does the word loan mean? So there's plenty of resources out there for you to get into this business. Don't think that, hey, I didn't go to college, or hey, my major is something different, that's gonna affect you guys. I'm not saying those things wouldn't help. They definitely would help. But if you don't have those things, it's not a deal breaker. All right, next common question is, should you start as a loan officer assistant? And the answer to this is, I would recommend it, but you don't have to. I was a loan officer assistant for about 1.5 years before jumping into this. So once I graduated from college, the refi boom was going on. I became a loan officer assistant, and then I got my license. I would have definitely been a loan officer for a couple more years just because there is a lot to learn. And if you just jump right in right away, you are going to make a lot of mistakes if you don't have the proper guidance. Now, I have made some videos and I'll link them here on how you could, still be a great loan officer despite coming in straight. But for the most part, it is going to be helpful to be a LOA. So if you do have an opportunity to be a LOA, a loan officer assistant, I would highly recommend it. If you don't, you could still make it coming in brand new and fresh and become a top producing loan officer, as long as you have the proper guidance and resources and tools. And by the way, I have launched a coaching program if that's something that you guys are interested in. I promise you it's well worth the money. So it's on my website. Check it out if you're interested in coaching, and also me guiding you, hey, this is what I would do the first 30 days of becoming a loan officer. I do have a video on that, so you could watch that as well. But if you want like a deep breakdown of me guiding you through exactly what you need to do, check out that coaching program. It's on my website if you're interested. I guarantee you it's 20 times worth the money. So check it out if you're interested. All right, now let's talk about the exit opportunities, because this is a sales position. So unless you want to be doing sales, going out there and hustling your entire life, you are going to need an exit opportunity. Now, the great thing about this business is because you're going to be making so much money in commissions, at least hopefully you are, right? Fingers crossed, at least for those two options that we talked about. Being a direct lender or a broker, you're going to be making a lot of money if you're doing the right things, being productive, going out there and prospecting, having the right systems, a proper guidance. When you do that, you're going to be getting commissions of $10,000, $20,000, $30,000, $5,000, etc. every single month. So what you can do is buy real estate, which is something I see a lot of people do in this business as an exit strategy. They buy real estate apartments and they rent them out, and then from there they're all set. Or they'll open up their own business, which a lot of people can't do, right? But because we are making these large commission amounts, we're able to go out there and buy real estate, or we're able to open our own business and then live off of that instead of just being in the hustle our entire life. Now, if you're willing to do that and you're up for that, that's totally great. But for the most part, once you hit 70 or 80, you're gonna wanna be chilling, relaxed, on vacation, and the only way to do that is to have your own business or get real estate.